Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome back because today I'm going to give you guys a review for the newest feature-length film by Olivia Wilde that I've been really looking forward to over the past couple of months. Don't Worry, Darling. It stars Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, and Olivia Wilde with Gemma Chan, Chris Pine, KiKi Layne, and many more. And with that said, let's get started. Don't Worry, Darling follows Alice and Jack, a couple living in the idealized community of Victory, a seemingly perfect paradise. However, when Alice starts to experience flashes and strange things occurring in the town, she starts to question Victory, and so as what is she doing there? I've been looking forward to this movie for a while this year. Florence Pugh is one of my favorite actresses over the past couple of years, and I've been really looking forward to seeing her performance here. And you got a really good cast assembled for this movie, and I like what the trailers were giving me, and so as just the concept of this movie, it feels very much like if The Truman Show was a psychological thriller. And so I was really interested in this, and then the drama happened over the past month or two, which I'm not going to get into. That's a drama and a whole other event for another time. And that happened. And so I was coming into this movie hoping to enjoy it for what it is. And now that I saw the movie, I thought Don't Worry, Darling was good, but it was not as good as I was hoping it to be, sadly. But kicking things off the positives, Florence Pugh is phenomenal. If you are coming into this movie because you want to see Florence Pugh give it her A game, she delivers 100% in this movie. She really conveys the trauma, the pain, and she's able to convey all these emotions so well whenever she's needed to, where if she's needing to be happy, she can. If she needs to be sad, she can, or even frustration. She can do all of that, and she does it so well in this movie, and she works really well off of all of the cast members here. The second standout in this movie is Chris Pine, and without getting into spoilers, and it was nice to see him play a character like this. And then the rest of the side cast with Gemma Chan, Olivia Wilde, Nick Kroll, they were all good with what they had to work with. But Harry Styles is one of the most talked about parts of this movie because everybody is wondering, how will Harry Styles measure up in this movie? I thought he was decent. He's not as bad as I've heard people make him out to be. When he's doing some more simple scenes where he just has to convey a simple emotion, he does a good job at it. But when he has to work alongside Florence Pugh and do some more complicated, more layered scenes, you can tell that it's maybe not the most convincing thing you'll ever see. At times you can see he's really just trying to doing his best in this movie because he doesn't play feature-length roles as often, and this, I think, is his first major role in a movie. So you could tell he's trying. He's trying to give it his all. Maybe it's not a masterpiece of a performance, but he's trying his best nevertheless. But I thought the cast as a whole, they have a really good cast assembled with this movie, and everyone was good. But Florence Pugh and Chris Pine delivered the two best performances in this movie for me. Both of them were just fantastic to watch from start to finish. It's also neat that Olivia Wilde tries to use this movie to comment on patriarchal societies and women's freedom throughout the movie. That is a recurring theme. And I like how it weaves into the story and how she frames and directs the movie, and so as how she utilizes the actors. Another thing I got to compliment is the production value and the set design is fantastic. It reminisces people of the 50s and has a lot of the 50s aesthetics, especially with how the buildings look. It has this very utopian feel to it that I really appreciate. And it's a very well-crafted movie on that front, but it also has some really good cinematography work, especially when you see like the landscaping scenes and how things are framed, especially when the suspense and the tension is rising. It is a really well-crafted movie from a visual standpoint, from a cinematography standpoint, and so as just the production, it really feels like a 50s movie, especially with the costumes and the set pieces, and it's really well-crafted in the film. And the score, I think, is very well done. It's a very haunting score, and it really adds to the suspense of this movie, which I really appreciate, where I sit there very uneasy and very nervous for what's going to happen to Alice and our characters because of a lot of the weird things she's experiencing. And it really adds to that really well. And there are some really interesting visual imagery that plays out a lot throughout the movie that you should really keep an eye on. And the first two acts do a really good job at introducing us to Alice, introduce us to our characters, what is victory, and so as build tension and mystery for this movie. They do a really good job at it on that front. And then the third act happens and it just derails those first two acts for me. And as much as I liked how it started in the middle, I did not think they wrapped up this movie on a satisfying note for me. And this is where I'm going to head into the negatives. And as much as I really enjoyed those first two acts of this movie, I thought the third act just completely derails the entire movie. It felt very predictable. I was afraid that this was what they were going to go into with the central twist. And I was hoping it wasn't going to be that, but it was. Why? And the execution just did not work. It didn't line up with what the first two acts established. It was like, all it did was give us more questions than answers. And the twist just did not feel satisfying in any means. And when the twist happened, they start to answer more of those questions we've been wanting to know. And then they also don't feel very satisfying. So now we're left with a movie where the setup for the mystery is really great, but the actual payoff is not at all satisfying. And that's what happened with the movie here.
What? But you can't do this to me.
I remember watching the movie and the third act happened and I just sat there like, this doesn't make any sense. And then I thought about it more and it continues to not make any sense.
Bruh.
And it's a bummer because when you make a movie with a central mystery, you want to have a satisfying answer to those questions. But when you have good setup mystery, but you have a poorly executed twist that doesn't add with what the movie was going for, then the movie doesn't work and it doesn't come together the way it should have. And that is what I experienced with Don't Worry, Darling. Overall, Don't Worry, Darling, it's a good movie. It has some really good performances, especially from Florence Pugh, who delivers one of her best performances ever. There's some great production and set design here, some beautiful visuals and cinematography, with a lot of interesting questions and a really good first and middle half of this movie. It's just the third act and twist that really brings this movie down a notch because it had so much potential to be great, but it was predictable, and I just did not think the way it resolved the story was a very satisfying way for them to do that. So in the end, I'm going to give Don't Worry, Darling a B. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you. Like, it's not a bad movie. It's not at all one of the worst movies I've seen all year, but it just feels like it could have been a lot better. I think they really had something really good with those first two acts of the movie. I just did not like the direction they went with things in the third act. It just really left a lot to be desired. And with a cast like this, I thought this movie could have been amazing had they not gone in that predictable and twist reveal. So yeah, it's another movie I thought was pretty disappointing this year, although it's not a bad movie. And if you are someone who loves Olivia Wilde movies or Florence Pugh and the cast, go for it. I'd say it's worth seeing in the theaters. But if you're a more casual audience member, I'd say just wait till streaming for this movie. It's not something you need to like rush out to go see in theaters. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Don't Worry, Darling. What are your thoughts on this movie? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Stay tuned for some upcoming videos I have planned. And don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below. So please go do that while you're at it. And thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button. And stay tuned for more.